Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we are taking another look at the Amiga 600 that we started looking at last time. This time we want to look at the floppy drive, which currently doesn't work, and then we want to get to cleaning it and retrobrighting it. So let's get to it. Now, the first thing we need to do is take it apart. The screws are still left out from the previous time that we had it open. So we just need to unclip the side. There we go, a little unclipping tool. And the lid can come off. Now I've actually already glued it, but you can see here this crack or this break here I think was caused by this drive not actually being screwed down properly. And I'll show you what I think was happening. I think that this ribbon cable was holding the drive up like that, so that when you close the case down, this was pushing up on this bit, and that basically snapped it. So I think that just putting some proper screws in there will actually make that sit in the proper position, and hopefully that will be all right. So let's take this out. Now this connector is keyed, so that will only go in one way. I've marked pin 1 on there, and pin 1 is written on there, so that should be okay. I'd like to take a moment to thank my sponsor for this video, PCBWay. From just $5 you can get printed circuit boards made to your exact specification with excellent quality and rapid delivery options. Or you can choose from many shared projects. How about this Amiga 600 RGB to HDMI board, for example? And they do much more besides. You can get your boards assembled starting from $30, or 3D printing or sheet metal work. Whatever your PCB needs, check out www.pcbway.com. And now, back to the video. Hopefully it's just going to be a matter of cleaning it and then it will suddenly work. Maybe, hopefully, perhaps. Right. See about getting this lid off. I think it's 2 small screws. So this is a Panasonic model JU-253. The heads don't particularly look dirty, but okay, what I think I'm going to do is run the drive with the lid off and see what happens. Okay, I've plugged it back in and it's ready to switch on with the lid off. I've got Workbench 2 disk. I don't expect it to do anything. We've got the Workbench 2 ROM. Let's power it up. Okay, so the drive is ticking. There we go, you may be able to see the head moving, one up and one back every time it ticks. Let's put the disk in. Okay, that is not spinning. So although it moved the head to try and read it, the disk is not spinning, so that is why it's not working. So, okay, the question is, why is the disk not spinning? Now, in doing some research to see what the problem could be, I was watching a video by Dave Pooh on his channel, and he had exactly the same drive, and it looked like pretty much the same problem. And what he found was this capacitor here, you can see that, had leaked. And if I look at this circuit board, that does look kind of gungy. So I think maybe this is the same problem and this capacitor has leaked, because this is going to be the drive motor board. Now, if you remember on my SFD 1001 videos, the drive motor board, which controls the spinning of the drive, had capacitors on it that were prone to leak, and that would stop the drive from spinning, basically. So I think that's a good contender. Now, to get at that, we have to remove this top plate, and the first thing to do for that is to take the button off, and then we can push this in, because it won't go in with the button attached, and that's going to allow us to lift this plate out. Very, very carefully. So, I mean, it doesn't feel sticky, but I think we want to replace it. Now, what is it? 10 microfarads, 35 volts. I don't have a surface mount capacitor, but I can probably lay something down along there. So let's get this chap off. And I'm afraid I'm going to do exactly what I did before, which is cut this out. Pull the bits off. There we go. There we go. Yeah, that looks like it might have leaked. So let's give it a clean. The spindle actually spins, so that's a good sign. Yeah, you can smell that. Well, I can smell that. Okay, and we'll find a new capacitor. Okay, here we are. It's not quite the right voltage. This is a 50 volt, but it should do the job. I've trimmed the legs to length and will apply some solder just to tin them, if it will stay still. Oops. Yes, I'm being lazy. I really should get one of those clippy spider leg things. And tin the pad. Okay, now hopefully that will lie flat enough that that's going to be okay. So hopefully that will do the trick. Let's put it back together and give it a try. The drive's back together, so let us power it on. Okay, workbench disk. Moment of truth, moment of fail. I have put this back together wrong. You can see this is over the top of the drive, of the head, so it won't actually go in. Got to take it apart again. Right, that's better. Amiga drive test take 2. This is now in the right position. Switch him on. And still nothing. So it wasn't that. we can see the drive is still not spinning. In fact, we take it out. No, at no point does it spin. So it wasn't that. It may be, of course, that it's just dead. One thing we can do is try another disk drive in here. So I can pull a disk drive out of my working Amiga 500, plug that in and see what that does. I've got this other drive plugged in here now. It's come from my Amiga 500. I have this little plastic mat underneath there just to stop it from shorting anything out. So let's try it out. This is really to see whether the Amiga end of it is actually still working. Okay, so no, that's doing the opposite. The drive is spinning, but it's not reading the disk. Okay, maybe I put the cable in backwards. Let's just try it the other way around. Okay, cable in the other way round. Disk is in the drive. Oh. Okay, that's working. I obviously just didn't have the cable plugged in right. Right, I'm not worried about what it's doing there. That's not important. What's important is the disk booted, so it shows that I know that drive is okay, but it shows that the Amiga side of it is also okay. So now we just need to figure out why this one does not spin. I've booted up the diagram so that we can just see what's going on with this drive. So let's go to drive tests. I've taken the keyboard out of the case, it's just held in there with clips. So that's the head, that's the drive motor. You can see it actually spins quite freely. So we can step the drive head in and out. That's not a problem. Now if we turn the motor on, you can see nothing happens. So that's the problem. I think maybe, let's turn this off. Don't accidentally short anything out. I think maybe if we can strip this down, we might just be able to see if there's anything else. I think there's another electrolytic on this other circuit board. So to get this off, obviously these three screws. These screws, I believe, just hold these rails on. And we need to take out these little ribbon cables, this little ribbon cable, that's for the track 0 sensor. And that little ribbon cable. I don't want to take the heads off because I don't want to have to realign them. I'm not sure whether we can get this plate off. And obviously we're going to have to clean the heads and so on later, but there's no real point in cleaning them until we know that the motor will spin. So I think that has to come off somehow, and then this would slide forwards. Okay, let's see what's inside this thing. And then that lifts off. Right, so it's possible that this chip has blown, which controls, I guess, the motor. It took me quite a lot longer than you would expect for me to spot the problem, but there it is, and once you've seen it, it's, well, that is a very dead chip. So I think that drive has had it, basically. I don't know what the chip is. It's not got a discernible number on it. And unless I can find another one, well, I've put the drive back together. I'm just going to write on it so that we know what the problem is. So, dead spindle drive controller IC. Date. Signed and dated, so I know what it was and when it was. Okay. Now it's time to do some cleaning and some retrobrighting. The computer actually looks pretty clean. The keyboard, certainly there's no immediate apparent grot between the keys. The case itself looks pretty clean. It's yellow, but let's look at the case. There's a few marks on it. And it's definitely yellowed, very yellowed at the back. So we are going to retrobright it. At the bottom, the inside is kind of grubby. There's a little bit of dirt on the bottom. I gave it a good cleaning with some IPA and a cloth, which you really don't need to see. And I'll wash it in some warm soapy water downstairs. Now let's get on to the keyboard. When it comes to the keys, we need to take them all off and put the springs in one pot and the keys in the other pot. And hopefully keep them all separate and not lose and not lose the springs or the keys in the process. Now what I'm going to do is keep the grey keys or browner keys separate from the white keys. So this one's got a little bar under it. And we need to keep that separate. Okay, so what I've got here is actually a drawer out of a sort of clothing storage cabinet. It happens to be plastic and happens to be the right size for an Amiga 600. I'm going to do the top case first. What I've done is I've taped a metal bracket to the underside of it, just so that that's going to hold it down so it's not going to float on the top. And then this is actually an aquarium heater. This is something new that I'm trying, the idea being that it warms up the hydrogen peroxide. Will it work? Will it be better? I don't know. Also new this time round is this little strip of ultraviolet LEDs that is taped around the side. Again, will that help? I don't know. But we'll give it a try. As always, make sure you're wearing gloves and eye protection when you're handling hydrogen peroxide. So what I'm going to do, this is 12% peroxide. I'm going to put this bottle in and then top it up with water so that it's probably maybe 6%. And warm water just so that the aquarium heater doesn't have to do too much work. And then I'm not quite sure how long to leave it, maybe a couple of hours. I'll sort of come back and have a look and see how it's doing. The key is to make sure that it is entirely covered. And here's the water. Okay, I stuck some tape on it. Hopefully that is going to hold it down. We shall see. Turn the heat up to whatever it will go up to. 33 looks like. Turn those LEDs on. Shut the lid and let's plug it in. The magic light. There we go, turn that on and let's leave it now for a couple of hours and see what happens. It's been about 3 hours now, so let's have a look. Okay, it does look lighter. The back and the sides does seem to be lighter where the UV light has got it, although the top still is a bit yellowed along there. So I think we'll give it a bit more time, maybe just with the top lights on. So yeah, give it another hour just with the top light, I believe. I think I need to get a grow light that has more UV content in it, really. Another hour, another check. Since it gets dark early these days, I've rigged it up so that we can just hang the light up and see a bit better. Whee! Good. Right, that is looking a lot better. Now I'll compare that with the back of the bottom. And I think that looks about done. So it is still a little bit yellow. You can see it's more yellow at the top than it is at the bottom. But that's a lot closer to the inside. In fact, I'd almost go as far as to say the bottom part looks too done. But I think we'll clean that off and we'll stick the bottom in and give that a few hours. So once again, I've got a weight attached to the bottom of the thing. Let's do it this way around. Then I'll turn the UV lights back on. And there we go, we'll leave that for a few more hours. It's been in there a good few hours now, so let's see how we've done. Got plenty of bubbles on it still, so that's a good sign. I've noticed the bubbles underneath it, even though there's a weight on there, they tend to make it float to the surface. 33 degrees is. I think that's a lot better. It's still a little bit yellowed, but I think that is basically a lot better. Okay, let's look at the keys. Now what I'm going to do with the keys is I'm going to put them in a little plastic bag. The idea being that they don't just float around on the surface. And I suppose instead the plastic bag floats around on the surface. It's an idea anyway. So keys in the bag. We get a load of juice in the bag and then we seal it in. I left the keys in overnight and this is now what they look like in the morning, so let's just lay them out to dry. That doesn't look too bad. Before putting the keys back together, I'm going to just brush down the keyboard to get rid of any sort of dust and stuff that has accumulated. It's already pretty clean, so it doesn't really need a very detailed going over. And I don't think we need to dismantle it because the keys do seem to work. There we go. Now we can refit the keys. I'm going to start with the keys that need the little extra clips. I've already put the clips into the keys, so it's a matter of fitting them to the keyboard. The spacebar has 3 springs, these 2 little ones and a big one. Now it's just a matter of key, spring, and so on. And there we are done. Now let's look at the case. This is the bottom part. It still looks a bit yellow on the back, but we'll see, I guess, when we compare it to the original, whether that's actually any improvement. Let's put the trapdoor in. There we go, and the PCB can go into the case. It's almost as much of a fight to get it in as it was to get it out. There we go. So that's the bottom half. Here's the top half. We need to screw the LEDs back into the LED cluster. There we go, and the keyboard just clips in. There we go, that clips in. It does still look kind of yellow, so I don't know that the retrobrighting that we did very much good, but we'll see shortly. Again, there's going to be a part 3 because we've got no floppy drive. There's no point in putting the existing floppy drive back in because it doesn't work. I have got another drive that's on order. It hasn't arrived yet. But I also want to put in a little IDE interface to put in an SD card onto here. So we'll do that and that next time. But that's it for now. The Amiga 600 is back together. I'll do a quick before and after comparison so we can see how well it's retrobrighted. And I hope you've enjoyed it. Please like it if you have. And subscribe if you want to see part 3, in which we put the new drives in. And I'll see you next time. See ya!